When you're working with interior films, what you really have to consider is how to start the panel correctly. What I did here is basically went a little cowboy, released the liner about 2 feet or about 30 or 40 centimeters, and just roughly trying to get in position. But the problem with this is the initial attack of the adhesive is generally with interior film super high, and if the surface that you're working on, especially if it's painted, the chance of that paint coming off the wall, or in this case the chimney right now, and getting onto the adhesive and ruining the panel is super risky. So the only time you should really release the liner and kind of do this style is if you feel like the paint is super strong and there's no chance of it coming off. So oftentimes cabinet doors are a good example of when you can do that. So another way to start a panel that's a little safer right now is I use masking tape on top of metal, which is a great tip and trick that I've shown on the Wrap Institute for years. And this allows me to hold the panel onto the wall with magnets, because masking tape is definitely not an option on this particular section here. So I'm cutting the backing paper the half moon shape, which is one of my favorite ways to cut the liner, because now what I can do is I can take that half moon and slide it behind the panel, which is going to make it much easier to grab once I set up the permanent hinge. So I crease it left to right, and then from here I'm going to squeegee right in the middle and then create that nice good hinge left to right, super even and straight, and good to go. So I love being able to use magnets here. But what you have to think about, the magnets with that masking tape, again, think about that surface energy. If that paint's strong, like it is in this case, no problem. And I can basically just release the magnets, release those plates, and then continue. But what I still don't like about this technique 100% is the liners of this interior film oftentimes can tear. They're super frustrating. You can see that even with that half moon tab, there's a chance of creasing the panel, and there's even a chance of that panel, because of the surface energy might be weak, of lifting off the wall. And this is another reason why I don't like it. I use the same technique here, as you can see, with the masking tape and that metal plate and the magnet. So I go to pull off the plate right now and pull off the masking tape, and even though it was just masking tape, not nearly as strong as the interior film, it did pull the paint. So what this means, and this was in the kitchen area, I had to fill it in, and once I filled it in, I had to wait for it to dry, which takes a lot of time. Then I had to come back and sand it. So again, for me, this technique can work sometimes on certain surfaces, but not all the time. So what oftentimes installers do, and this is a very popular technique for interior film, is take a backing paper cutter and do a double cut about 1/5 of the way up at the top of the panel. And what that means is now you can pull this tab nice and easy. So you leave this section on, then once it's in position, then you can release that little tab liner right there from the double cut and lock it onto the surface. I'm a big fan of this, but I have a better technique that I'm going to show you in a little bit. And the reason why is, even though this technique is good, and I locked it in place here, I have to reach behind the panel right now to grab that tab. It's really awkward to do, and you can see the chance of wrinkling the material is still really high. So out of those 3 techniques, going cowboy or cowgirl is just way too risky. The magnets with those metal plates and the masking tape is definitely a good one if the surface energy is in good shape, and this double cut is solid, but I think it can be improved, and that's what you're going to see now. So near the beginning of a wrap rejuvenation of flat in Amsterdam, it's a full great series on the Wrap Institute that's going to come out in early 2022, I was setting up a panel for the chimney area after I had just done one using the magnets and the metal plates. And I thought, there's got to be a better way to get the material on safely. So I thought, I'm going to do a double cut, and I took a string. And again, keep in mind, this is the very first time I'm trying this. And you're going to see modifications that I made to this technique in a little bit. But basically, took a string, and I'm going to do the same, fold the tab over and crease it so it stays folded over, so when I get it to the wall I can kind of lock it in and grab it. But by taking the string now, I'm going to take a big piece of masking tape so it can fold around and hold on to this backing paper right now, and I basically lock it in place, crease it so it's extra flat. Then obviously make sure the string is wider than the panel itself, but to keep it from falling down from the tab on the left over there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 pieces of masking tape, one smaller than the other, reverse them so it's adhesive side to adhesive side, and then take the big piece and lock it into the liner on the bottom section there so the string can slide. Very cool. So the string doesn't come out of that little masking tape bridge right there. I put 2 pieces of masking tape there so it doesn't come out. Awesome. So once I have that set up, now I get it in position, hold it to the wall with my forearm, and now I can take the string and pull it across. So I got that double tab, and now the tab starts coming across, really cool. Don't have to crease the panel, there's no chance of it coming off. And how did it work? Well, pretty darn good, super cool. So I can just grab that tab, no chance of creasing it, and I can just lock it in, create that permanent hinge, and good to go. So again, option number 1, and it worked pretty good, but I think there's always room for improvement. So that string that I used can definitely snap, and it laid flat though, which I liked, but I didn't like the fact that it could snap a little weak right now, because sometimes that backing paper can be a little heavy or aggressive. So right now I'm taking a string, I knotted one side so I don't have to use that masking tape, so I'm trying to streamline the process. Now take the masking tape, make it extra wide, and then wrap it around the little tab right there. Super cool, so it locks in position. So keep in mind that silicone side is facing out, that's why you have to make the masking tape wider. Now I create that masking tape bridge so the material can, the little string can slide underneath it. So once that's set up there, cool, set it on one side of the panel, on the other side, so it's nice and almost parallel but slightly off to the center. Once I have that set up, I knot this side now, so now that won't slide through, which is cool. Once it's in position, V-Bay is holding one side, and now, with that string, there's no chance of that breaking, and it slides all the way down from top to bottom. You see no tension on the panel at all. Now I grab the liner, awesome stuff. Now the adhesive is exposed, don't have to move the panel at all. I just take my wide squeegee and lock it into position. The hinge is set. So with that, for me, version number 2 was the best option because that string, basically, I just save it from panel to panel and I reuse it whenever I need to. The only thing I have to kind of set up each time is that masking tape on the side and here, just to create that little bridge so it can slide through. But once it's set, a little time and prep right there, but I'm telling you, the stress that it avoids in the install is massive. So once I got it locked in here, and this is an area right above the countertop, this material is super fragile, brushed metallic, don't want to crease it at all, super high aggressive initial tack, no air release at all. But bam, I can start my hinge nice, easy, and straightforward because I got that little string on the side. And you can see here, it just pulls that liner off just super smooth and straightforward. Just comes all the way across nice and easy. I grab the liner and the panel doesn't shift at all. And once it's there, it stays nice and uniform. This is the 50-50 point. So here I can just take my squeegee, lock it in, and bam. So I'm not quite sure what to call this technique at this point, but hopefully maybe one of you in the comment section can give it a name. But for me, I just call it pretty darn cool. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Justin Pate.